All right, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Living the Dream podcast. Today on the show, we have Jeffrey Mason, who is a customer experience coach, author, and podcaster. Jeffrey, how you doing?
Good. How are you, Timothy? Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
I'm doing well, and thanks for coming on. We
Oh,
like
yeah.
to jump right in. So if you could start
Sure.
with telling us a little bit more about who you are and what you like to do for fun, that'd be great.
Okay. So, I've been in business for 35 years, started in the Wall Street area in sales and really adopted a liking for working towards creating better customer service experiences. So I set out to write a book in 1989, wrote it and published it, self-published it in 2019. So, that's kind of been my heart and soul. I really have a passion for making that experience with the customers good. And, on my end, I've been running for 42 years now. So I'd say my biggest recreation and helping to keep in shape is running. I've charted my miles. So I'm in my 36,000th life mile, which is a whole lot of miles, 6 marathons. But, I just love getting out there and experiencing the noises and the air and the localities. I've run all over the world. I've been able to travel. So that's really what I am. Happily married, got two great girls, got two great grandkids, and and they're all living right around me here in St. Louis. So, it's awesome.
There we go. Sounds like the life.
It's nice. Yeah, it hasn't always been, but it's nice.
Yeah. There we go. Well, tell us a little bit more about your motivation. What gets you up and keeps you going every day?
Yeah. Well, a passion for life. I mean, my mother told me, even when I was a child, I got up at 5:15, 5:30. I wanted to get the day going. I've always been like that. And I was an alcoholic and a drug addict for 14 years. And when I was able to, by the grace of God, not wake up one day and have that driving me as a focus, I really began to see the clarity of life much, much better. Life became much richer. And, I really realized that I should embrace the micro moments as well as the macro moments of life. And that's really where quality was. And so it's just a passion for getting up in the morning. I don't know how else to say it.
A passion for life, a passion for getting up in the morning.
Yeah.
I love that you kind of said that's been a theme throughout your life, but were there some points in your life where it was something you had to cultivate?
No, but I had different motivations. Like for a good 10 years of my life, I woke up and the very first thing in the morning that I thought of, and you're talking about now age group 16 to 26, how can I get high? Where can I score? Where can I find something to get me out of this reality I'm in? So rather than start the day bounding out of bed and with an energetic approach to life, I focused laying there thinking, conniving, strategizing, where can I get this? And so it was a different kind. I mean, my eyes opened, I was ready to roll, but I was rolling towards a different goal,
Yeah. That is so interesting. I love your perspective on that. The fact that you said you were still passionate about getting up in the morning, but the passion was just directed incorrectly.
Correct. Absolutely.
Yeah, I really love that because I think it's a lot of people's experience. It's not that that they don't have the energy or that they don't have passion or that they don't have all the good things they want in life. It's just that they're focused on the wrong things. They're like putting it in the wrong market for a business.
Amen. Amen. The focus is huge. And I can tell you for 10 years, my focus was way off. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us about that process of switching that focus.
Yeah, well, it was a God thing. I mean, it was December 24th, Christmas Eve, 1987, in Princeton, New Jersey, in a church, and I couldn't deal with it anymore. I wasn't able to handle my own life in the way that I knew I was called to do it, and I just said, God, I can't do this. I surrender everything. And it was that I never had another drink. My last drink was the night before. I polished off a 6-pack in about an hour and 15 minutes, and it was just, but it didn't matter what I drank, what I smoked, what I took. It just, as long as it got me high. So lo and behold, the next day I woke up and God was kind enough to me to take the urge away from me and let me see life through the lens he provides for me, and it's been remarkable.
I love to hear it. I love to hear it. And you know what's even crazier about that? Like a lot of people will just say it's impossible for that to happen. Like when you're an addict, you have to like wean off of it. You have to do this, you have to do that. But man, that's not the case for you.
Well, and I think really God, obviously knew me well enough to know that I was a stubborn guy, and I still am in a lot of ways. And that, I would probably have questioned the reality of God, the realness of him, the storyline of the Bible and Jesus. I probably would have questioned it if he hadn't have done something to show me that, beyond a shadow of a doubt, this wasn't you, this was me. And that's what he did. So he chose that. I'm convinced. I mean, I don't have any, he never told me that, but I mean, I'm convinced that's what happened.
Yeah, yeah. Scales falling from the eyes moment right there.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah. I mean, but, I even say, 3 days later, I'm out walking the dog, and the leaves on the trees, especially the evergreen tree, they looked greener. The sky looked bluer. And I was like, what is, I was just so cloudy for all those years. I couldn't see the reality that was the beautiful reality that was right there in front of me.
There we go. Well, let's go ahead and jump into your dreams and goals now. Tell us about your vision for the rest of your life and your business.
Yeah. So I'm 63 years old. So I tell you what, man, I've had a lot of aspirations and had a lot of goals and dreams that I've chased. Some I've achieved, many I have not, many I abandoned. But what I really realized in the midst of it all, Timothy, was that, is it Timothy or Timmy? I'm sorry.
It's, I prefer Timmy, but Timothy,
okay.
I actually.
Timmy, yeah, I'm sorry. I should have asked you up front, but Timmy, I just, I really adjusted things along the way and realized that, am I missing the moments? Am I taking these iPhone snapshots of life and not soaking up and absorbing the moment? Am I just capturing it? And I really learned that in the process of chasing all my dreams, that if I could slow down and really learn how to absorb the time frame I'm in, I'll get so much more out of life. So I would say that from this point on, that's what I have to look forward to. I mean, I wanted to write a book. I made it a goal. I've achieved that. I didn't want to start a podcast necessarily, but I did. And one of my goals is I never want to miss a week. And I'm in my 136th week in a row. I never missed a week. I come out every morning at 6:00 on Thursday morning. So, I've started my own business. I still operate my own sales agency. I've done that for 15 years, and that's my third, or some even argue my fourth try at that. So I kept pursuing that goal, that dream of having my own company. And so here I sit today looking at grandkids, looking at the experiences, and I want to make sure that my dreams from this point on are to absorb the moment.
Absorb the moment. I love that. And that is such a, you see it in the Bible, you see it in a lot of self-help literature, self-improvement literature, success literature. It's all like the being present, absorbing the moment, and being grateful and not missing life as it passes you by.
Right. I mean, seriously. And running has given me a great appreciation for that. I've a run in the snow, a run in a rainstorm, a run in Hong Kong, a run in, my hotel in Bangladesh, a run in the middle of a farm field in Pennsylvania. I mean, I've just stopped everywhere you could think of over 42 years, beaches, cities. And, I never wear headphones. I never want to miss what's around me, what's happening, what's going on. And I'm the same way in business. That's why I love the customer experience venue, because I observe the situation. I absorb the situation in the same manner. So yeah, I really, it's a wonderful, I guess it's a wonderful gift that I've been given, that I can do that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. For those 16-year-olds out there, 26-year-olds, 36-year-olds, 46-year-olds who maybe don't have that perspective, what would you say to them to start gathering that appreciation for life, appreciation for the moment?
Yeah. I mean, first thing I'd say is, pick and choose the time for using your smartphone technology. Seriously, because with that put into a compartmentalized daily program, you leave time open to observe and absorb and process the moment you're in without being distracted by the smartphone technology. And I find myself even, only adopting an aptitude for it, 10 years ago. I mean, I've been glued to it, and I've really got to catch myself and say, wait, am I missing something here? So that's the first thing I'd say is find a time where you can put that aside and, enjoy the human interaction, enjoy nature, enjoy the sounds, the sights, the smells of things going on.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's funny. I told you earlier, right before we hopped on the podcast, that I was feeling a little stressed today. And earlier today, I went to the gym, and right when I came back from the gym, I had 3 minutes before my next thing. And in that 3 minutes, I decided, instead of grabbing my phone and getting on Instagram or texting back some leads or doing whatever it may be, I was going to sit with my eyes closed and just listen. And let me tell you, man, the headache I had like dissolved within like a minute and a half. And then it was another minute and a half of just bliss. And I was like, wow, I have got to just sit more often.
Yeah, isn't that cool? I mean, it sounds so weird almost that's a cool thing, but in today's distraction-oriented, busy life, it's necessary.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I am right there with you. Well, awesome. This might be a hard question for your dreams and goals, but if there were one or two people that you could meet right now, and this could be a specific person or a type of person that really help you take the next step towards absorbing the moment more and more every day.
Yeah.
Who would they be, and how would they do it?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, I'd love to have met Dale Carnegie. I'll never meet him, but I wish I would. I wish I really could have met him, and I really would have enjoyed that time. And I think I probably would have, sat there and just been like a sponge, and would have been hard for me to talk. But so I have to capture him through some of his writings and get more out of him that way. And I think that if I could meet, wow, it's a great question though. If I could meet one other person, who would it be? I would have to say Jesus. I mean, I don't, I would love to know what I don't know, and I mean, I'll never get that shot, but if I have to aspire for, I'll get it someday, I hope. But if I had to aspire for one, that would be it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Dale Carnegie and Jesus. I love it. What is the most important one or two things that everyday people can do to really help you live and absorb in the moment every day?
Yeah. Listen to yourself, listen to your body, listen to what, how you're being directed, how you're being prompted, be open to that, and don't let outside influences always dictate, where you're going, what you're doing. I mean, there's an old cliche: if you don't know what road you're taking, any road will take you there, and if we don't understand ourselves well enough, how can we really get the most out of a day? You know what I mean? And I would really say that for somebody pursuing a dream, you're going to hear, whether it's inner voices or external voices, telling you you're not worthy, you can't do it, who cares, why, Timmy, you're going to start a podcast, really, for what reason, who cares, who's going to listen to it? Well, you've done it, you're doing it, you're out there on a almost daily basis in a lot of cases, and you're pursuing it, and there's chances are people that are trying to knock you down. Why? I don't really know, but don't listen to them, and don't, just keep motoring ahead. If you've got a dream and a goal, do all you can to pursue it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. I'm right there with you. Now, how do you hold those two things up? Pursuing a dream or a goal, despite, all the negative self-talk, other people's negativity that comes in, but also absorbing the moment of life. Because I feel like a lot of my goals will be really like, especially right now, 23, starting my entrepreneurial endeavors, I'm like, really, I need revenue. Like that's revenue is always a thing that is it's both here and out there, right? And so I'm like, who got my money? Who got my money? Where am I going
Yeah.
to get it? But that's always like a forward looking thing. So how do you absorb the moment and hit goals?
Yeah. Great question. I think these kinds of questions change from decade to decade. So at 33, you might answer that question differently. And certainly at 63, I might answer it differently than you need to answer it at 23. But, I would say that, there are times, just like you found that 3 minutes, that, make sure you're planning your day in a way to pursue that career goal, if that's, listen, it was important to me too, and it still is. So, find the time, carve it out to do that, but make sure you inject some balance time in there. And if you can't inject the balance time, find those 3 minutes to close your eyes and breathe and hear things. And, whether it's 3 minutes at 2:30 in the afternoon and another 3 minutes at 7:30, and you haven't had any in between, at least you're getting some there. And then I would just say, when you're with people, I mean, I can tell you, in my opinion, the interaction we have within humanity is so overlooked today with smartphone technology, and it's replaced by smartphone technology. Man, that's where I think we can really absorb the moment and even achieve goals at the same time. Talk to people, look at them in the eye, give them your undivided attention, spend time with them, enjoy that process together or as a group, and don't worry, about your career for those short periods of time. You can always get back to it when you're done. But, I just think it's so important to embrace that time we have with other humans.
Yeah, I love that. I love the idea of just talking to people, being present with people, which
Right.
How to Win Friends and Influence People, Dale Carnegie is a big advocate of that.
There you go. I mean, and yeah, now I did go to his hometown. Believe it or not, I drove to his hometown of Maryville, Missouri, and I got out of the car and I walked the streets and I took a picture in front of the library. And that was when I was almost finishing my book. I was almost done. And, it took me about 3.5 years to write it. And man, I'll tell you what, silly as it may sound, I drove out of my way just to absorb the atmosphere. And what I couldn't believe is this guy from a Northwest Missouri farm community, how did he figure these things out?
Yep.
And the only answer I could come up with is, we're so caught up in the complexity, the tree branches of life, that we forget about the simplicity of the root system. We forget about the basics. We overlook those basics. And, I think it's a balancing act. You're 23, you're driving towards your goals, but there's also that part of you that needs to embrace simplicity, and me too, and
Yeah,
just, slow down for a second.
absolutely. I think there's something to be said with it's almost as counterintuitive as it sounds to embrace the moment as well as hit futuristic goals. It's actually impossible to hit futuristic goals without embracing the moment.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I'll tell you what, I writing my book is a great example. I spent 18 nights in a cabin in the Ozarks. So I got a cabin over 3.5 years, 18 different nights, and, 20 some odd days I spent there. And so you're out in the middle of this 137 acre, facility with no 3 other cabins, no noise, no interruption from smartphone technology, nothing like that. And, as you're writing this book and you're looking towards the future, right? You're pursuing your goal right there. But just to stop from time to time, take my finger off the keyboard, look out, take a walk, go pray, go just listen to the birds and the chipmunks and the squirrels. And it was just like, the deer. I mean, it was like wild. And, so even though I was pursuing my goal, I was embracing the moment.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Eckhart Tolle in his book, The Power of Now, talks a lot about that. Actually, he said, if you're not living in the now, you're literally, he calls it the now, the moment, etc.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're literally missing life. And I think it has a lot to say, like, even for those who are like 23, like me, maybe you're an entrepreneur, maybe you're thinking more practically, like it translates directly into business, in sales, in marketing. Like if you're not there with the customer, hearing them out and experiencing that moment with them, no way you're going to sell them on anything.
Bingo. I mean, so well said. I don't know if your viewers can see this, but there's a pile of notebooks right behind me on my credenza there. And it's all my notepads from when I started my business in 2008. So I literally have notes from every meeting I've been in from 2008 on. And if I ever have to dip into them, I can open them up and I can reacquaint myself with that moment in time. But guess what? During that moment in time, the message I was sending to my customer or potential customer, that I care enough about you, that I'm listening to you, that I'm absorbing the moment you're providing. I'm absorbing it so well, I'm writing it down so I don't miss anything. And that message is lost today in the business world, I think. And that's a wholesome message. That's a wholesome process where you're showing people that you are absorbing the moment they've given you, and they're giving you that time, their time is money. And what are you doing with it? Well, you can respect it by taking notes right there. And so I think it's a huge lesson. Yeah, I think it's a great, there it is right there. How do you show somebody that you're appreciating the moment they've given you?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Well, cool. Now we're going to jump into our Thriving Three. And the first question is, what is your favorite book, movie, or podcast? Pick one.
Yeah, well, I absolutely, love Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. But yeah, since we've already mentioned him, my second favorite book is How I Raised Myself from Failure to Success in Selling. And it's about a baseball player that got up to the St. Louis Cardinal organization. He fell back down to the minor leagues, the lowest level. This is early 1900s. And what did he do? He harnessed genuine enthusiasm to get back to the major leagues. And in his time frame, he was noted as the best life insurance salesman there was in the world, pretty much. And it was because he learned how to harness enthusiasm. So I love that, book too. Frank Betcher, Bettger is his name. Now, movies, I'm kind of tired. I love The Sound of Music. It's one of the big epic films I saw. I think it's got a great storyline of, escape from the oppressiveness. But I also love Shawshank Redemption. I just love that movie, and it just, it's so cool, and I love it. And then the pod, so I kind of a tie there. I don't know which one, and then the podcast that I love listening to every week, I love tuning in. It's called The High Wire, and it's thehighwire.com, and it's Del Bigtree, an ex CBS guy, was on the movie, actually won an Emmy for a show called The Doctors. And he just talks about, medical truth. And I really, everything we've gone through recently. I mean, I just wanted to get a better grasp myself on, what's really going on in the medical community, the pharmaceutical community. What am I not knowing? What should I know? So it's been a great gravitational podcast for me that I don't miss it. I haven't missed it for years.
Yeah. There we go. Shawshank Redemption has been on the podcast as a suggested movie probably 6, 7, 8 times now. Oh. And let me tell you, man, I still haven't seen it.
Oh, so good. You got it. I mean, when I was in the movie theater watching it, it was one of those flicks that you're going, I'm watching one of the best movies of all time. I mean, that's the way I felt. And I watched it on a business trip in San Francisco, literally, and just went to a movie theater one night. No, hardly anybody in there, and it's probably like on its 12th week or something, and it was great.
Yeah,
great.
Yeah, I'll have to go watch it. And the book you recommended, How I Raised Myself from Failure to Success in Selling.
Yes.
That reminded me of Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, The Laws of Success. One of the things he always talks about is enthusiasm, like a burning desire, and having that come across in whatever it is you're doing. And I think it's funny how in life, kind of similar to neglecting being in the moment or absorbing the moment, we overlook the simplest things that will really catapult us towards where we want to be and who we want to be, and then always try to do the real complex stuff. And that's just an observation I wanted to make.
Listen, I commend you. I'm serious. I think the we've departed from the concept of simplicity in so many ways. And that's why my company and my book's called Simple Biz 360. I've tried to boil it down to simpler understandings, the simplistic part. I wrote a paper in college once on simplicity, and I, my sociology professor wanted me to publish it, and I didn't. And I've always thought, why was that so attractive to a sociology professor? But it was so attractive because it was becoming a rear view mirror concept,
Yep.
and that's really, and so I just think there's so much in that. And Napoleon Hill, he was in that time frame of Carnegie, of Betcher. Certainly a lot of what he wrote about came from more simpler times. And so that's a great book, though. Believe it or not, I have not read that.
Oh, Napoleon Hill's books?
I have not read that. No, I need to. I mean, to talk about suggestion, it's been suggested to me all my life, and it's just one of those books I've never picked up. I can't believe it, but
oh man, you will devour that book and you won't be able to put it down. Of course, it's some of the principles you probably already know and put into practice, but it's just so, it's kind of like How to Win Friends and Influence People. I've probably listened to that book and read that book like 5-6 times. And I'm just like, I love it every time.
Well, I'll tell you what, you pick up Frank Betcher's, I'll pick up Napoleon Hill's, and we'll have to compare notes a couple of months later.
It sounds good. It sounds good. And what is one way you like to take care of yourself?
Keep the ticker moving, keep it going. I'll tell you what, I watched my dad really have a tough last 20 years, and he died in his mid 80s. And I'm convinced it was because his heart just never worked. He never worked. He never exercised. And so I've been, ever since I stopped playing college soccer, I've started running. And like I said, I've been doing it for 42 years. And it's something that's part of me. I can't strip it. I've got to get out there and work the heart. So I say, that's, aside from eating better and making better choices that way, just making sure you get out there and move and exercise is imperative to quality of life later on.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. There again, it's the simple things: eat right, exercise, sleep. Like those.
I'm 63. Timmy, and I'll tell you, I'm at 63. I know I'm a whole lot different than my dad was at 63. And, it's because I've been moving, I've been doing things, I've been doing, working resistance cords and weights over all those years, in addition to running. And I say to anybody out there, please start exercising now, because your ticker gives out before a lot of things.
Yeah, absolutely. And what is one action step you can take right now, or maybe not take in this circumstance, to absorb the moment more and more every day?
Be aware. I think a lot of stuff to grab a couple cliches, go in one ear and out the other, go over our head, we miss it. And we find ourselves saying, wow, I wish I really would have paid more attention when I was there at that lunch, or when I was talking to that person or with that customer. So I just say, increase your deliberateness towards situational observation, become more aware of your surroundings. Just start tomorrow, but, conscientiously make yourself be more aware of the situation.
Yeah, there we go. And we have one last series of questions. This used to just be one last question, but I've recently changed it.
Okay. All right.
So bear with me. Bear with me. A lot of people have come on the podcast and said that the catalyst that helps people change from having a fixed mindset, not willing to accept help and not willing to accept change, to having a growth mindset, willing to accept help and willing to accept change. The catalyst for that is a personal choice that happens after either extreme inspiration or extreme desperation. First question is, do you agree with that? Do you have anything to add to that or subtract from it?
I kind of agree with that. Yes, because I think that, a lot of times, for instance, spiritually, a lot of people come to know Jesus Christ through times of desperation. And so I see that, and, I live that out myself. But on the front part of your question, I think that I'd answer it a little differently, or agree with it in a little different sense. I think that, yes, there have been catalysts that I consider epiphany moments. And I just highlighted this in my episode 135. If anyone wants to go to my podcast, and trip over there, but episode 135, I talk about epiphanies. And yes, I had epiphany moments where, just real quick, 3:30 in the morning, 19 years old, wasn't in college, working the graveyard shift at an injection molding factory. I'm working a machine with this guy at 3:30 in the morning. He's falling asleep on me. And it's imperative that when that machine opens, he strips that machine of all the residue in there. And that machine's going to close up. As soon as he's done, we can close it. And we were hired to beat the daily quota. And this guy's falling asleep on me. And I'm like, hey, come on, keep going. Kenny, wake up. And he says to me, he goes, well, I'm sorry. He's 44 years old. Looked like he was 54. And he said, I'm sorry, dude. I don't think he said dude back then, but I'm sorry, man. I work 2 jobs. I go home at 8 o'clock in the morning from this shift, and I clean houses till about 5 o'clock with my wife. I grab something to eat. I sleep from 6 to 10, and I get up again to get here by 12. And Timmy, my mouth dropped. I saw myself in this gentleman, and not to just be disparaging towards him, but I just knew, oh boy, what am I doing wrong with my life? So that morning I went home to my mother, got home, and I said, Mom, you got to drive me up to, I was hitchhiking. I'd hitchhiked for 4 years because I lost my license for drunk driving. So I said, Mom, you got to drive me back to the high school. I have to go see the guidance counselor. I got to go to college. So it was that epiphany moment. And I've had many others, not many, but enough, that in my opinion, Timmy, have been the catalyst to stop me. And in my business career, my book, it's in there. I call it a reboot moment. I was this close to getting fired. Guy came in one night at a sales meeting, talked about what he did, how he overcame adversity to achieve success. I went home that night, came in the next morning, literally changed the way I was doing things. I started doing the plan the company had taught me. And the minute I started working the plan, everything changed. So, I've had some of these catalysts that I call epiphany moments. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Our next question is, why do you think some people, given that extreme inspiration or extreme desperation, make the choice to change and then others don't?
Wow. Timmy, it's a question of great, it's a troubling question, because I don't know. I'm a customer experience coach. I focus on helping people make their companies better by making their experiences better that lead to more repeat business and more referral business. Why I don't have more people interested in that, I don't know. Is it, and I talk to many other coaches and consultants and many other business people. Why do businesses and business people and people in general not decide to change? Why weren't they inspired? What didn't they recognize? Do they recognize desperation? I don't know. But man, I don't have the answer for that. I can't figure it out. It's perplexing, but
yeah, it is.
It comes down to the individual, I'm sure, but what inside that individual? I don't think it's external forces as much as it is what clicks and what doesn't click. When does it click? How does it click? And I don't know. It's frustrating in a lot of ways to not know that answer.
It is. Yep. So I'm asking the question because I want to know the answer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I'm sorry I came up with a goose egg, man.
No, hey, same answer I have. So we just keep asking.
Yeah.
So next question is that some people need a small amount of desperation or inspiration to change. Others need a larger, more consistent amount. What do you think establishes that breaking point, that threshold? And can that breaking point or threshold be influenced?
Wow. Yeah, I think our individual makeup, I just think we're all made and designed differently. Some have a higher threshold for pain. And so maybe desperation doesn't come around as quickly as other people. Maybe sometimes our stubbornness, like me, get in the way of realizing that we're actually in a form of desperation that we need to change. And for instance, I was that close to getting fired. Had I not rebooted my business life the next morning and started working the company plan, I would have been in a state of desperation. All that would have been thrown out the window. So, but it took me longer to get, why did it take me till I was almost gone, and then what influences those inspirations, why does it take a larger amount of inspiration for some than others? Again, I just think that, I think a lot of the generations that have come since the 70s, I would have to say, have been focused on the me side of things. It's the me generation. And we keep growing that. What's in it for me? What's good for me? What's good for me? And so a lot of times, we don't really stop and see what's happening. We're just chasing the satisfiers for me, and we can't see that there's actually inspiration to change, to do things differently right in front of us, and we're not seeing it. I think that's got something to do with it. There's just so much of a infatuation with chasing that selfishness.
Yep.
That sometimes we don't see that, there's an inspiration right there. My wife's a perfect example. If I had to say there was anybody who's inspired me, and I've been reluctant to accept it sometimes, I've pushed it to the brink, and she's been there the whole time. And when I accept it, usually things change, but why do I wait so long? So I don't know. And it's great questions though, man, you've got to write a book about all the answers on those questions.
Yep, I definitely will. And we have one last one for you. I want to say real quick, though, I loved what you said about selfishness and ego, which is another reason why I think you are going to love Think and Grow Rich, because you just talked about how, because our selfishness is always in front of us, that is the thing that we're pursuing. It's easy to focus on that. It's always in front of us. Think and Grow Rich, or Napoleon Hill in general, I like The Law of Success a little better than Think and Grow Rich, just because it's bigger, more in depth.
Okay.
But he talks about the law of autosuggestion, which it sounds all fancy and stuff, but it's literally writing down your goals over and over 3 times a day, repeating them to yourself over and over 3 times a day, because that will create a burning desire in you. Because as you say stuff, your mind starts to look for stuff that proves that to be true.
Yeah.
And so the more you pursue selfishness, the more your mind can only see selfish things.
Correct.
The more you start to pursue inspirational, impactful things, the more your mind can see opportunities to do that. So
right. And I'll tell you what, a great, and in line with that, one of my managers told me, read, if you want to improve, right? I did. I wanted to improve after I had that taste of rebooting my business life. And he said, okay, read a business book a month, 1 business book a month. And then just take 3 things from each business book. But you could take more, but force yourself for a minimum to take 3 things from there and apply those 3 things. At the end of the year, you'll have 36 professional improvements. Why don't you look at it that way? So I think in a way to answer your question sometimes is, maybe if we just take bite-size, approaches to accepting smaller pieces of inspiration, that maybe that can mushroom into a much larger overall event.
I love that. How we think about things, because I think a lot of us tend to self-sabotage by thinking too big. It's like, oh, I want $1 billion in 10 years. Well, that's impossible. I can't do that. That's like, okay, well, can you make $5? Like, let's start there,
Right. Correct.
I love it.
Correct. I love the St. Louis Cardinals baseball team, and for many years, I'm a Yankees fan, but I came to St. Louis and, I've learned to love them. But one of the things Tony La Russa used to always say, used to hear him on TV all the time say it, let's just win this series. Let's worry about this series. If we can take 2 out of 3, if we can take 3 out of 4, that's what we need to be focused on. And, it's kind of like Claudia climbed Mount Everest, 1 day at a time, the whole thing. It's just stair steps at a time. But I really loved what my manager said about, you read a whole big book, 300 pages, 250 pages, just force yourself to take 3 things and then try it, apply it, or fry it, but try it at least. And chances are you'll apply it. And then you've got 36 improvements in your quiver. You got 36 new arrows in your quiver to do business with. So, it's cool.
There we go. And our last question So in the book Atomic Habits, James Clear talks about the 4 laws of changing your behavior. And the laws are to make the behavior obvious, to make it attractive, to make it easy, and to make it satisfying. With that context in mind, how can we create an environment that accelerates getting people the right amount of inspiration or desperation and facilitates them making the choice that will change their life?
I think it kind of lies in authenticity. I mean, I think so. I think that the more, we're seeing a lot of impostership, especially in social media. We really don't know what, and politics everywhere. We just don't know really what to believe. I think the more that we can leave someone with the sense that we are being genuine and authentic with them, I think that kind of that opens the valves to everything that you just asked. I think it really does. And I think the more we can demonstrate that, whereas somebody says, you know what, I really like the way Timmy handles himself. I really liked our conversation. It was just, I felt he wasn't pretentious. I just felt I could relate to him. What is that person really saying? In a way, they're saying that guy Timmy's really authentic. There's just something warm about being around him, because I didn't, there wasn't any ulterior motive that I really noticed. I think that's the way we can do it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love that. I think, again, that full circle here goes right back into absorbing the moment.
Yeah.
Like, to fully absorb the moment, you can't be thinking about who you're supposed to be. Like, you need to be.
Bingo.
And
Exactly. And I just think there's so much to that. And your age group, I know they love it. I know they love relatability and authenticity. And you guys, and especially the younger folks, they hate seeing something fake. They want something that's real and true. And I grew up, a lot of business people they took advantage of customers and consumers, and they worked schemes, and they still are. And it's a shame, and it's, I just think, that's the essence of making the right connection, is that authenticity.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, awesome. Jeffrey, is there anything else that you want to chat about before we sign off?
Well, I just wish you all the best. And, I mean, honestly, I'm going to catch a bunch of your podcasts, and I just got back off vacation myself. So I've kind of been busy this week, but what you're doing, you're asking, and I applaud you for it, because you're asking, really thoughtful, inspirational questions. And I'm at the juncture in my podcast, and I'm in the juncture in my career right now that I'm asking more questions than providing answers, because I think it's the questioning, when we can sit down with ourselves and we can question ourselves about the behaviors that we're engaged in externally, whether it's with our family or with our friends or with our business, customers or whatever, associates, team members. I mean, that's where we find change. That's where the human essence gets to change. That's where, we get to be more brotherly and sisterly to other people. I really do think that. And if we can't be introspective with ourselves, we can't get anywhere. And you're asking that, you're unfolding that in your interviews. And that's a precious thing today. So I applaud you for it. And I really do.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Well, awesome. If you guys are listening to this and you loved what Jeffrey had to say, make sure to reach out to him, follow his podcast, and share his podcast. The link will be down in the show notes. As we always ask, shoot this podcast to 1 to 3 people need to hear this message. Give us a 5-star review on iTunes, and we're out.